Big story breaking at this hour. The ED has summoned Robert Vadra in the Shikopur land deal case. It's the second summon to Robert Vadra. Earlier, he skipped summons on the 8th of April. The allegations against Robert Vadra is that his Skylight Hospitality purchased a 3.5-acre land parcel at Shikopur in Gurgaon from Omkareshwar Properties in February 2008 for the cost of 7.5 crore rupees. Well, after obtaining a commercial license, Skylight Hospitality sold this property off to DLF for 58 crore rupees. The ED is now suspecting that he laundered this money. That's the case against Robert Vadra. That's the reason why he's been summoned by the Enforcement Directorate in the land deal case once again. ED summons to Priyanka Gandhi's husband, Robert Vadra. Priyanka Gandhi, the MP from Wayanad and Gandhi sign, where he has been summoned. He had in fact skipped the first summons that was issued to him in the past. The Enforcement Directorate summoning Robert Vadra in the Shikopur land deal matter. The second summon to Vadra. Earlier it skipped the summons on the 8th of April. The allegations against him is that Vadra's Skylight Hospitality purchased a 3.5-acre land parcel at Shikopur in Gurgaon from Omkareshwar Properties in the year of 2008 for 7.5 crore rupees. Well, after obtaining a commercial license, Skylight Hospitality sold this property to DLF for 58 crore rupees. ED suspects that Vadra laundered this money. Well, that's the allegation against him, and that's the reason why ED has summoned Robert Vadra once again. I'm going straight across to Amit for more details on that story. Amit, take us through what is expecting given this summons, because he's been named in the probe case in the ED charge sheet as well.
Well, Sneha, this is in connection with another ED case. Robert Vadra has been summoned by the Enforcement Directorate in the Shikopur land case. And this is the second summon that has been issued by the Enforcement Directorate. The first one was on 8th April with the skip. What is important to note out here that Robert Vadra's Skylight Hospitality had purchased their claims that the company had purchased 3.5 acres of land in Gurgaon, Shikopur, at worth of 7.5 crore rupees back in 2008. And what it is also being claimed viewed as of now is that this particular land parcel was sold at 58 crore rupees. So the agencies are probing at the money laundering aspect in this particular case, and that is why the second summon has been issued to Robert Vadra. And remember, the first one that was issued was on 8th of April, which apparently Robert Vadra had skipped. Back to you.
Give us a sense of what has Robert Vadra said so far in this entire matter, Amit.
Well, Sneha, if you look at the details or the allegations which are there, it was Robert Vadra's company, which we are being told that had purchased the land parcel back in 2008, and this land parcel was later on sold to the DLF Properties. So the agency is looking at the angle of money laundering, whether this land parcel was purchased at a lower rate and sold at a much higher rate. Is there a possibility of money laundering aspect in this particular case that's being looked at? And that is why Mr. Vadra has been summoned by the agency. And this is the second summon which has been issued to Robert Vadra. Back to you.
To Robert Vadra, of course, as far as this matter is concerned, given the proximity to the Gandhi family and to the Congress, the expectation is that the Congress would obviously say this is a conspiracy against the Gandhi Parivar, against the Vadras as well, isn't it? Amit.
Yes, Sneha. We have seen that even in the past cases where Ms. Vadra was summoned by the Enforcement Directorate, and you would very specifically remember the kind of summons that were being sent out ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. Back then, the Congress party had completely backed, or rather the Congress party workers were the ones who were actually speaking about political vendetta and political conspiracy against the Gandhi Parivar. But this time around, we'll have to see because there are no elections around the corner right now. Only one that is to be happening in 2025 is the Bihar Assembly elections, which is far off. So whether a similar kind of protest could be organized by the Congress party workers or somebody, the Congress leadership could enter the fray to defend Robert Vadra, that is to be seen. But certainly in the past, as you're also mentioning, and specifically in that particular timing of 2019 Lok Sabha election, we had seen as to how the Congress workers and several leaders had aggressively decided to defend Robert Vadra and called out the investigations by the agencies as political conspiracy.
You know, this is a case of suspicion, Amit, of money laundering. Talk to us about what are the specifics of what the ED thinks is the wrongdoing here.
Well, Sneha, you know, if you look at the charges or the allegations or the probe angle, what is to be seen out here is that the land parcel which was purchased at 7.5 crore rupees, 7.5 crore, when it was sold to the DLF, the amount of this sale price increased to 58 crore rupees. So, is there a money laundering case here? Was it underpriced when Mr. Vadra's company bought that land parcel? All these angles will be also looked into by the investigating agency, and that is precisely possibly the angle on which Robert Vadra could be questioned in this particular case. Back to you.
Be with us, Amit. In fact, Munish is also getting in more details. Munish tracking the Enforcement Directorate and other agencies for us. This is an ongoing matter, Munish. Talk to us about what is the possible wrongdoing here, because the court in the past had also said, in the past, I beg your pardon, the Haryana, in fact, had said, in fact, that there is no wrongdoing in this particular DLF land deal with Skylight Hospitality. So what is it the ED, what is it that the ED is suspecting now, Munish?
Well, Sneha, ED is suspecting it is nothing but money laundering. Remember, according to the allegations, Robert Vadra's Skylight Hospitality bought the land, 3.5 acre of land in Shikopur of Gurgaon for merely 7.5 crore in 2008. But later, the same land was sold to DLF for 58 crore rupees. So ED suspects that this is nothing but money laundering. More than 45 crores was laundered by Robert Vadra's Skylight Hospitality, and that is why, the Enforcement Directorate has called Robert Vadra to appear today before their headquarters in the national capital. Earlier, he was called by the ED on 8th of April, but he asked ED for more times, and today he has been called again. So far, ED sources have told India Today that Robert Vadra will be appearing today in some time. Now, as far as, the allegations are concerned, remember, in this case, Sneha, the first FIR was registered by...
Just come back to you in a moment from now, Munish, for more details on that story. The BJP's Tom Vadakkan is with us. Tom Vadakkan, how do you look at these developments vis-a-vis the ED now summoning Vadra once again? Of course, the suspicion is of money laundering here in the land deal.
Well, the legal processes cannot be constrained because of political compulsion. So I think what is happening is they are going according to the laws of the land. So let's take a logical conclusion without political interference at any end. It is a question of appearing before the ED and explaining your situation. If there's something shady, well, you have to pay a price for it. I mean, everybody is equal in this land. His mother-in-law and brother-in-law are on bail. So, I mean, the whole family is in a shady territory. So, well, they are high and mighty, but the law of the land, will take its own course. So, I don't think there could be any interference whatsoever in this process of law taking its own course.
Last time he was summoned, he skipped the summons. How do you look at that?
Has he skipped the summons, or are you saying he did it earlier?
He had done it the last time around. On the 8th of April.
That can't continue.
Mm-hmm.
When he is summoned, he will have to appear. If he does not appear, then they will take actions which are more stricter than he can imagine, because the ED has a lot of power across the country. So it would be difficult to run away from the ED at this juncture. it will be advisable for this person to appear and sort issues out.
Okay. All right, I'm going to thank you, Rob. In fact, Robert Vadra has been summoned once again by the Enforcement Directorate, and that's the news we are breaking at this hour. ED suspecting Vadra laundered the land deal money, accused of 51 crore illicit land deal profit. Vadra bought 3.5-acre land for 7.5 crore in the year 2008. The ED says Vadra sold the land to DLF at 58 crore rupees. Well, that's what the ED is looking at as far as the money laundering matter here is concerned. Robert Vadra, remember, was summoned by the ED on the 8th of April, but then he skipped those summons. I'll try and get a sense of whether Munish and Amit are also with us. Munish, in fact, continues to be with us. Munish, you were talking to us about the allegations made against Vadra. It's a case of money laundering, but it's a suspicion. Is there a case against him? I mean, to say, is there a formal complaint against him? Is this suo moto that the ED has looked at? What are the details of this particular land deal? Tell us more.
Well, Sneha, the ED's case is based on the FIR which was lodged by the Haryana police. The Haryana police's case is based on a complaint. Now, the complainant in the case has alleged that Robert Vadra's Skylight Hospitality bought a land, which is 3.5 acres of land in Shikopur for 7.5 crore in year 2008. But later, the same land was sold for 58 crore rupees. Now, ED suspects that why this amount of profit, in Gurgaon, when the land parcels of surrounding areas have been sold to other individuals, the profit has not been generated much by those property owners. But in this case, the moment Skylight Hospitality bought the land, it was sold for 58 crore, and ED suspects that this profit of more than 45 crore rupees is nothing less but a way to launder money, and that is why Robert Vadra is under scanner, because Vadra is connected to Skylight Hospitality. Remember, Skylight Hospitality has been under scanner of ED in other cases also, but in this case, ED claims that based on the evidence, based on the statements they have recorded, in this case, they have summoned Robert Vadra. And today, it is expected if Robert Vadra arrives before the ED office in National Capital, then his statement will be recorded on those allegations. And he might be confronted with those statements which has been recorded under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Sneha.
Absolutely. Munish, as in the past also, we've seen that there's been a fair amount of, political mudslinging as far as this issue is concerned. Given the proximity to the Gandhi family, is the son-in-law at the end of the day of Sonia Gandhi. So this is something that will generate a lot of political reactions and bickering expected to start, especially because the last time around, he had skipped the summons as well. So the expectation would be that this time around, he would be appearing again. Are you picking up that he would be appearing before the Enforcement Directorate? And on what basis did he skip the summons the last time?
Well, Sneha, as far as this case is concerned, because Robert Vadra is husband of Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and he is connected to Gandhi family, there will be far-reaching political implications. We'll see reactions coming in from the Bharatiya Janata Party and the NDA leaders saying that the Gandhi family has been involved in corruption cases. But as far as, the ED is concerned, they are saying that this is a pure investigation of money laundering by them, and whenever a person is needed for questioning, they call that person. In this case, Robert Vadra is a prime suspect in the case, and that is why he has been called in for questioning. As far as ED sources are concerned, what we have been given to understand is that on 8th, when ED had called Robert Vadra, then Robert Vadra replied to ED saying that he has some personal work because of which he won't be able to appear before the agency. But as far as today's summon is concerned, so far ED has not received any communication from Robert Vadra asking for more time in this case. So it is expected that he will arrive the ED office shortly in a while, and then his statement will be recorded. Still, there is 1 hour wait for the ED officials to, formally communicate to Robert Vadra once again whether he will be coming to ED office or not, because he has to reach ED office by 11 o'clock. So far, Robert Vadra has not even given any information to ED that he will be appearing or he won't be appearing. So it is expected that he will appear today, because this time he has not asked for more time from the Enforcement Directorate.
That's right. Be with us. He's not asked for more time, so he could be appearing. Munish, I'm going to, in fact, ask you to continue to be with us. Munish Pandey getting that big exclusive news break this morning. Amit Bhardwaj, my colleague, is at the ED headquarters as we speak at this point in time at the ED office, where Amit, Munish is indicating to us that there is a possibility that Vadra may not be skipping these summons and could be appearing. What is it that you're picking up?
Right, Sneha. At the ED office, it seems to be day as usual, but the security arrangement has been made as per the protocol. So, could there be a possibility that Robert Vadra could be actually reaching the Enforcement Directorate office this morning? That remains a question until he, he's visual in this particular frame as well, reaching the ED office, but certainly there's a possibility because as Munish was also mentioning that because Robert Vadra has not communicated it to the investigative agency, Enforcement Directorate so far, that he is in likelihood to skip the summon. It is being assumed that he in most likelihood will be present here today in person to respond to the questions of the Enforcement Directorate in connection to the land deal in Gurgaon. So that's pretty much expected today, and we might see him in some time from now reaching the Enforcement Directorate office, or otherwise, if he chooses to skip the summon in that particular case, Robert Vadra will have to inform the Enforcement Directorate through his lawyers, or maybe a communication needs to be sent to the ED in this particular regard as to why he is not able to appear before the agency. Because there have been no communication so far from Mr. Vadra, what Munish was also mentioning through the sources, that is why it's being assumed that Robert Vadra could come here, appear before the agency in order to respond to the questions in connection to the Gurgaon land deal. Back to you.
Talk to us about what the other stakeholders, what the other parties in this matter, Amit, have said so far, because this was a land deal at the end of the day. And the accusation is that the money was laundered by Robert Vadra. Talk to us about how the other stakeholders have looked at it. The Skylight Hospitality is selling the property to DLF. What has DLF said so far?
Well, Sneha, when it comes to Robert Vadra, there are always two aspects to the story. Number one being the investigation that's being carried out, be it in this particular case, Enforcement Directorate, because this is not the first time when Mr. Vadra will be summoned by the Enforcement Directorate. Even before the Lok Sabha elections of 2019, we had seen as to how the political para in the country had escalated because of the summons that were being issued by the Enforcement Directorate to the Gandhi Parivar, including Robert Vadra. So there's one angle of the investigation by the Enforcement Directorate. The other angle obviously remains the political battle that unfolds in the country whenever somebody from the Gandhi family is summoned by the Enforcement Directorate or the probe agency. And these are two different aspects. Yes, while the legal aspect or the investigation aspect is concerned, the different stakeholders in this case, including Mr. Vadra, the Skylight Hospitality, the DLF, all these stakeholders will be probed by the agency, and their responses obviously comes through either the sources or the legal communications that are made or the statements that are made by these stakeholders. But the political drama certainly spills over the street. We have seen that happen.
I'll just come back to you in a moment from now. BJP's Nalin Kohli joining us this morning. Nalin Kohli, how do you look at the fact that the ED has once again now summoned Robert Vadra? The last time he had skipped the summons when it was issued on the 8th of April. We're expecting Vadra to appear before the agency again today in connection with the suspicion of money laundering. High Court.
Well, as a practicing advocate, what I'd like to say is that it's part of the litigation process. It's part of the legal process. If Mr. Vadra has been sent a summon by the investigating agency, in this case being the Enforcement Directorate, if he chooses not to respond to that, that means not appear and also not give any reason for non-appearance, then the next logical step is for the agency to send a second notice. And if we are sending a second notice, then it will become a little more serious than the first, because the non-compliance of a notice would in effect mean non-cooperation with the agency. And generally, I'm subject to what Mr. Vadra's legal team is telling him, non-cooperation with an agency is setting grounds for the agency to look at then further steps beyond a notice. So as far as it is, this case has been there for a few years. In this, there were questions about the land deal that Mr. Vadra seems to have engaged and acquired on. If he has a clear paper trail, a clear money trail, if there are no questions with it, the easiest way forward is for him to provide all those details to the investigative agency, in this case being the Enforcement Directorate.
All right, fair enough. But I also want to ask you that in the past, the Haryana government by themselves had told the court that there is no violation found in the transfer of land by Robert Vadra, Sky Hospitality to DLF, which exactly is this case is about. So this has been said in the year 2023 by the Haryana government to the court.
So again, I'll have to wear my legal hat and point out that the Haryana government would not be looking at it from criminality. The Haryana government would essentially be looking at this and making a comment in terms of the rules and regulations that govern a transfer of land, or in this case, if a CLU or change of land use by the district and town country planner, if that has taken place, whether that was as per procedure. Now, that is a separate issue, and that would be governed by that concerned act. The Enforcement Directorate's notice would be under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, or the PMLA Act. In this, the primary thing would be for an agency would be investigating the question of proceeds of crime, which means, is there a criminality in the source of funds that went to acquire the land? Was it through multi-looping or sending it through multiple companies, etc., shell companies, and then creating a chain to convert, for example, black to white for acquiring it? Was the transfer for an amount that is very, very low? For example, suppose a land's real value is 100 rupees and it is acquired for 30 rupees. Then it raises the question, what happened to the balance 70 rupees? Is that a cash transaction? Is there a proceeds of crime? Is there criminality to it? So therefore, the schemes are separate. This being a criminal investigation, I'm making the assumption, because I'm not seen the legal papers, but I would make an assumption that there's a criminal investigation and he's probably being asked about source of funds and proceeds of crime. And I don't think there will be any reliance that he can place in a criminal investigation on the rules that govern, for example, change of values or transfer and registration.
Good, thank you. To tell our viewers, this is about the ongoing investigation into a land deal between Robert Vadra's Skylight Hospitality and DLF at Shikopur village in Gurgaon in Haryana, where an SIT had been looking into the matter, but there has been little progress in this case. ED is also a part of the investigations. They have summoned Robert Vadra once again, is what Munish, our colleague, was reporting on. I'm going to thank Amit and Munish also for getting in those details. Nalin Kohli, thanking you for your time as well, for joining in with your perspective on this big development.